There's a bed waiting for you somewhere, the last one you'll ever lie in. You don't know where it is yet, but it's out there, and it has your name on it. The ceiling will be unfamiliar. Maybe somebody holding your hand, maybe nobody. Doesn't matter. At that point, you're mostly inside your own head anyway. Your brain starts playing your life back to you. Not the version on your CV, not the bits you tell a stranger at a dinner party. Something else. The real cut. And by the time you find out what your brain chose to play, it's too late to change any of it. Now look at right now. You're probably on a couch, or a bed, maybe in transit somewhere. The day was fine. The day before was fine. But nothing seems like you would think of it on your deathbed. So what really do people think about when they're on their deathbed? To answer that question, I read hundreds of testimonials from people who've sat in that final room. Nurses, hospice workers, sons and daughters who held a hand and listened to the last things anyone ever said. And I went looking for a pattern. What comes up when there's nothing left to lie about? What I found is going to sound a bit too obvious, but you can't see it right now because it's so simple. The same handful of regrets, over and over. Different mouths, different decades, same regrets. As if everybody walks the same path and to the same end. And here's the awful and at the same time useful thing about it. You're already walking it. You started years ago. The exact regrets people die with are the ones you're quietly building right now. And there's almost nothing about your day-to-day life that would tip you off until it's far too late. So I'm going to walk you through the worst of them. Not as somebody else's story, as yours. Because they are yours, whether you've noticed or not. Let's start with the regret that hides best. There was a man in one of the accounts I read who had Alzheimer's. By the time his son started visiting him, the disease had taken his memory of faces. He didn't know who his son was anymore, but one day the old man started talking about his son, to his son, not knowing they were the same person. He said the boy had done better in life than he ever had, that he was proud of him, that he'd always been proud. The son had never heard any of that, not once in 30 years. His father had been a quiet man, the kind who didn't say things like that out loud. So the son had grown up assuming his dad didn't care, wasn't interested, wasn't impressed. Actually, his dad had loved him to pieces. He just spent his entire life believing he wasn't important enough to have an opinion worth voicing. Two people, same family, both wrong about the exact same thing. The father went his whole life believing he didn't matter. The son went his whole life believing he didn't matter to his father. And the disease had to come and break the dad's filter before either of them found out the truth. Now, listen to your own voice in your head for a second. That voice says, I don't matter that much. Nothing I do really lands anywhere. I'm one of 8 billion. If I disappeared, the world would close around the gap inside a week. You believe it. That dad believed it too. And it cost him 30 years of a relationship with his own kid. Picture your own funeral. 20, 40 years from now, a room full of people. What do they talk about? Nobody mentions your salary, the job title, the house, the quarter you crushed your KPIs. What they actually talk about is the small thing, the thing you don't remember doing. You are not the protagonist of your life. You are a side character in 100 other lives. And the side character version of you is the one that survives. And here's the bit I didn't see coming when I started reading these. That's not bad news. It's the lightest thing in the world. Being the protagonist all day is exhausting. The version of you that runs around in your head worrying about being important, you can put her down. You weren't supposed to be carrying her this hard. The real work was always smaller than that. There's a second regret, and this one stops feeling abstract the second you let yourself think about it. The people you didn't get back to. There's a name in your head right now. It came up the second I said that. You might have already pushed it away. Someone you've been meaning to reach. Someone you fell out with over a thing you couldn't properly explain now if you tried. Someone whose number is still in your phone, and you just haven't. How long has it been? A week? A month? A year? 5? Be honest with yourself. Why haven't you? I know what you're telling yourself. I've told myself the same about my own list. They don't want to hear from me. It'd be weird. They've moved on. If they wanted to talk, they'd reach out first. And every single person in those accounts who regretted not reaching out described that exact voice, talking them out of it, in exactly those words. One day your mother will answer the phone for the last time. Neither of you will know it's the last time. You'll be talking about nothing. Lunch, the weather, some show. Then you'll hang up. That'll have been the call. The same is true for your father, your closest friend, your sibling, the person whose name keeps coming back to you while I've been talking. There is a last conversation waiting for every person you love. Most of them have already been scheduled. You will not be told which one it is. By the time you find out, it will already have happened. I wrote that paragraph and then sat there for a long time. Then I picked up my phone, then I put it down, then I picked it up again. Then I closed the laptop and made tea. So, I'm not standing above any of this. I know exactly what I'm describing because I just did it about 15 minutes ago. But there's another version of this story, and I want you to actually picture it because it's not abstract. It's the version that's available to you in the next 30 seconds. You send the text, 3 words, thinking about you, You put the phone down. Half forget. An hour later it lights up. It's them. The message back is longer than yours was. The first 30 seconds of that call are clumsy, both of you laughing in the wrong places because the relief is bigger than either of you expected. All the stuff you'd rehearsed, the awkwardness, the cold reception, the why are you contacting me now? None of it shows up. It never does. They'd been carrying the same weight on their end. They just hadn't moved first either. The whole story you've been telling yourself about why you can't reach out, it doesn't survive the first minute of an actual conversation. The third regret is the one you think you already know. You don't. The first version of this chapter 1 wrote was the version you've already heard 100 times. Money won't make you happy. Time matters more. If that's the whole insight, this is wasted. So I went back to the accounts and read them again. And what was actually in there was darker. It's not that success steals your life. You bought it legally. You signed up the moment you opened your laptop, before you opened the curtains. There's no fraud here. The deal is real. The system pays out exactly what it says it will. The promotion is the promotion. The salary is the salary. The house is the house. I should know. I'm typing this on a laptop I bought with money I made by working through Christmas a couple of years ago. I knew at the time I shouldn't have been working through Christmas. I worked through Christmas anyway. Here we are. Same deal. Same laptop opening before the curtains. What you didn't read in the small print is what you were paying with. Not money. Small things. The kind you handed over so easily, at the time you can't even remember it now. The bedtime story you said you'd read tomorrow. The walk you used to do with your partner that quietly disappeared one year, and you can't remember when. The kid at the top of the stairs, waiting to ask you something, who eventually stopped waiting. The phone call from your mom that went to voicemail because the meeting hadn't finished. Those were the costs. The salary you earned in the year covering them, that's what you traded them for. You didn't lose any of them. You sold them, possibly enthusiastically. In the regrets, this kept coming up. People didn't name the achievement they'd been chasing. They named the small thing they paid for it with. And there's a second clause, the one nobody reads. The you that's signing this deal, the present you tonight at the desk, is signing on behalf of a future you. The future you who will finally enjoy what the present you is sacrificing for. That future you doesn't exist. By the time you arrive where they were supposed to be standing, somebody else is. Slightly older, slightly more tired, looking at the next goalpost. The 50 grand becomes the 100 grand. The promotion becomes entry level on the next rung. The house becomes the better house. And the part where life finally starts mattering, that part stays where it always was. One step ahead. It always moves. That's the engine. Which leaves you with a different question. Not how do I finally get there, but what's still in the room when I finally stop trying to get anywhere? You know what is. It's almost embarrassingly small. A summer afternoon you barely noticed at the time. The way one friend laughed, properly, with their whole body. A song on the radio in a car when, for no reason, everything happened to be okay. Somebody saying your name the way only that person said it. That's the part that quietly breaks me. The contract pays out exactly as promised. You just didn't read what you were paying with. Oh, and there's a bed somewhere, by the way, with your name on it, out there. You don't get to know when. It's a little nearer than when we started. It always is. 2 regrets left, and the next one is the one I'm worst at. Here's the 4th regret I noticed in those accounts. The one that made me put the laptop down for a while. It's the one that's hardest to argue your way out of, because you're doing it right now. Watching this. So am I, sitting here writing it. Almost everybody in those rooms said some version of the same thing about their own life. They said they hadn't really been in it. What they meant was this. They'd spent their whole lives slightly elsewhere, thinking about tomorrow, replaying yesterday, planning the next thing, worrying about money, worrying about work, worrying about what someone was going to say. Their body was downstairs, eating dinner, walking the dog, sitting on a sofa. But them, the actual them, was upstairs in their head. Years went by like that. And here's the trick of it. While they were doing it, it didn't feel like missing anything. It felt like life. Felt like the normal experience of being a person. You think you're living. You're not. You're narrating life from inside your own skull, and the actual life is happening on the other side of your eyes. The texture of an ordinary day, the food, the air, the sound of somebody breathing next to you, that's the life. That's literally where life happens. There isn't another more important one running somewhere alongside it, waiting for you to finish thinking about something. But here's what kept coming up in the accounts. Almost every dying person described one specific moment, the moment their body finally stopped letting them live anywhere else. When the pain or the weakness or the difficulty of breathing forced them, often for the first time in years, back inside their own skin. And the thing they said about that moment was always the same shape. I forgot how loud everything was in here. I forgot how alive my hands were. I forgot what my own breath sounded like. I forgot I had a body. They didn't forget. They left. Decades ago, they moved upstairs into their head and forgot it was supposed to be a temporary arrangement. The window is open right now. You're sitting somewhere. There is a smell in the room you haven't noticed. There is a sound, a fridge humming, a car outside, a clock that you haven't heard since you started watching this. Your shoulders are doing something. Your jaw is doing something. There is breath coming in and out of you that you didn't ask for and isn't being charged to your account. That right there is the life you're supposedly running out of. Let it be uncomfortable for 10 seconds. Because honestly, it's the most useful, uncomfortable feeling you'll have all week. That feeling you might be having right now. The slight unease of realizing how rarely you actually live in here, how long it's been since you noticed the breath or the room. None of it was hidden from you. You just haven't been in the room for any of it. That's a preview. That feeling is exactly what waits for you at the end, with the volume turned all the way up, multiplied by every year you didn't notice. The dying don't regret thinking, they regret missing. And in this 30-second, you're getting a small free trailer of what the bigger version feels like. The head is comfortable. It feels productive. It doesn't feel like missing anything until far too late. And here's the thing nobody told me about being in your body. It's not heavy. It's the opposite. It's the lightest you'll feel all day. The head is the exhausting part, the constant editing, the planning, the imaginary conversations with people who aren't there. Your body, it turns out, was always the easier room to live in. You just stopped going in there decades ago and forgot the door was unlocked. The years you spent in your head were real years. They came out of your account too. The body was paying for them in installments you didn't notice. And one day, sooner than you think, the body's going to send the bill. And the bill is just the body itself, forced back to the foreground because there's no more head left to hide in. The dying don't regret thinking, they regret missing. One regret left, and this one is the heaviest because you didn't even know it got handed to you. This regret showed up in different decades, different words. Underneath, always the same two sentences. I cared too much what other people thought of me, for too long. I never let myself be who I actually was. And before that lands, I know what the pushback is. I felt it too, but I have to be who I am to keep my job, to keep the relationships I have. The costume is what's holding everything up. Take it off and everything falls down. The trick of this one is you can't feel it building. The costume doesn't pinch. There's no day you notice you've started preferring the version of yourself other people approve of. You just slowly stop being the other one. The job you took, did you choose it, or did you choose the thing that sounded respectable out loud to relatives? The opinion you swallowed at dinner last month, would you have said it if you knew nobody at the table would remember? The hobby you used to love and quietly dropped, did you stop loving it, or did somebody make you feel small about it? You can almost feel the costume right now if you go looking. One day they're going to put you in the ground, and the kind, true things they say at the service, they'll be about a person you never let anyone fully meet. Strangers will cry for the costume. People who loved you will eulogize someone they only ever got a glimpse of through a crack in the wardrobe. The real one, the one in the spare room, will go in the ground with you, unmet, unannounced. Not one dying person in anything I read ever wished they'd cared more about what other people thought. The regret only ran the other way. I should have just been who I was. Hundreds of times. Same sentence. So, the life you're living right now, whose is it? The bed isn't here yet. You're still in the kitchen. Somewhere today the kettle's on, the light's coming in, and someone you love is one room or one phone call away. You haven't run out of anything yet. The turn, contradiction. 5 regrets. 5 ways a life quietly leaks its meaning out. The voice in your head that says you don't matter, the people you didn't get back to, the contract you signed without reading, the years you weren't actually in, the costume you forgot you were wearing. That's not a list of other people's mistakes. That's a list of things you did this week, maybe this morning. Now, I want to be honest about something. I don't actually know if the dying are telling us the truth about life. They might be telling us the truth about dying. Those are different things. A person about to lose access to people will obviously regret not having more of them. A person about to lose access to time will obviously regret not having more of it. A person about to lose their body will obviously regret not having lived in it. Maybe regret is just what loss looks like from inside a body that knows it's losing. And if that's true, the whole premise of this video gets a little shaky. The dying aren't handing down wisdom. They're not seeing more clearly than anyone else. They're standing at the exit, finally aware of what they're about to be deprived of, and the rest of us mistake that awareness for insight. We assume the view from the door is the truth about the room. Maybe it's just the truth about the door, and I can't prove it isn't. I've read hundreds of these accounts, and I still can't tell you for certain whether what I'm looking at is deathbed clarity or deathbed grief. Maybe a happy 30-year-old has more useful information about how to live than a frightened 80-year-old. Maybe the dying are the worst possible source for life advice. They're scared, in pain, trying to make sense of an ending they didn't choose, and that does things to a brain. I sat with this for a long time. I'm still not entirely sure. but there's something I couldn't argue away. Nobody in any of the accounts ever regretted the things they actually did, only the things they didn't. Whatever loss does to the dying brain, it doesn't manufacture phantom actions to wish for. The lists are always the same shape: the text not sent, the dinner not had, the version of themselves not worn, the body not noticed. That's not nothing. The 5 regrets are real. Even if the clarity isn't divine, they're still the ones you're going to carry. The gray feeling you maybe started this with, that wasn't life being meaningless. It was you hunting for meaning in the 5 places it wasn't kept. It was never in the achievement. It was in the small things you decided didn't count. The friend whose name keeps coming back, the kid at the top of the stairs, the dinner you ate without tasting, the version of you packed away. I want to be straight with you before I land this. I'm not above it. The name in my own head, the same one I told you would come up when I said it would, never got dialed either. I wrote this script over weeks and didn't send the text I was telling you about. I caught myself once, opened the chat, typed 3 words, deleted them, went back to writing about how nobody sends the text. There's no irony I haven't already had at my own expense. I'm in this with you, not above it. There's one more thing I want to tell you. I haven't mentioned it yet because I wasn't sure how. When I was a kid, my grandfather used to walk me to school, the long way, right round the back of the estate, twice as far as it needed to be, every single morning. I thought he just liked the walk. He died years ago, and it was only long after that I worked out the short way to school, went past a house where an older kid used to wait for me, used to make my mornings hell. I'd mentioned it once, just once. I don't even remember telling him. He never said a word about it. He just started taking the long way, every morning, for 2 years, so I'd never have to walk past that house. I didn't understand until he wasn't around to thank. When I figured it out, the first thing I felt wasn't gratitude. It was anger at myself. I'd had no idea, none. He'd been doing something quietly heroic for me every single morning, and I'd thought he just liked the walk. How many other things did he do that I never saw? I'll never know. He's gone. The window closed on a Tuesday the 1st, don't remember. Then I started thinking about it from the other side. There is somebody in your life right now, taking the long way for you. There just is. Somebody quietly doing something you haven't noticed. Maybe a parent, a friend, somebody you barely think about, a colleague, a neighbor, an old teacher who kept an eye out for you longer than you ever knew. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're shielding you from. You probably won't find out in time to thank them. That's the deal nobody mentions about being human. You spend your life being walked the long way round by people who never said, and you walk the long way round for people who will never know you did. Most of it goes unspoken. Most of it gets buried with the people who did it. The small things you decided didn't count. The friend whose name keeps coming back. The version of you packed away. The kid at the top of the stairs. The taste of the dinner you ate without noticing. Every one of them is your long way round for somebody. When people in those final rooms were asked what they'd want their last words to be, the most peaceful answer was 2. No regrets. Nobody lands there clean. They land there having chosen which ones to carry. I don't know what your life looks like right now. I don't know what room you're in, or who's nearby, or whose name keeps coming back to you while I've been talking. But somewhere in the next few hours of your day, there's a moment, a small one, the kind nobody would notice if you did it, and nobody would notice if you didn't, and you already know what that moment is. That moment is the long way round. The bed is the part you don't get a say in. It's out there with your name on it. You don't choose when. The footage is the only part you do.